yesterday, yesterday, I, in preparing for the show, and for our next guest, in actual fact, um, decided to go and have a look at the pay equity issue, which and it's just here we go. First of all, you know what I think about pay equity. Okay, it's a nonsense. It's another woke and stupidly woke concept. Um, and the market determines what you get paid. So the reason that cleaners and motels and I don't know, rest home care workers don't get paid much is because the market actually meets that particular demand. Can I give you a really good example of that? And this is a good analogy. Hospitality workers, poorly paid, minimum wage, right? And my daughter, who was 17, 18 at the time, was working as a hospitality worker for a local restaurant cafe. COVID came, off. And all of the people who used to work in restaurants and cafes, and particularly the hospitality trade in the Queenstown Lakes, Central Otago regions, took off home. From Argentina, Brazil, so many South Americans over here, it's incredible. We've got very, very good football teams as a consequence. But everywhere, Australians, Brits, Americans took off home. And suddenly, finding staff to work in those hospitality industries became really interesting. And my daughter went from being on the minimum wage to getting an extra $5 an hour, Josh, $5 an hour at 18 years of age, and having some seniority given to her as well, for one simple reason: supply and demand, the market. Now, eventually, when New Zealand stops being dependent upon Filipino migrants, and we won't be anytime soon, rest home owners and those in rest care facilities will have to start to attract people to get into that industry, which means they're going to have to pay more. But at the moment, they don't need to because they've got a cheap source of labour coming in. And as I said, mostly Asian. A good example of that. Go and check out the number of people doing home help at the moment now for the elderly, irrespective of where they are. Wanganui, Wellsford, Waimate, Dunedin, Dunsandel, just check them out. Go and inquire into the ethnicity of currently people doing home help for the elderly in this country. And you will see almost exclusively, almost exclusively, they're Asian, Indians, Filipinos. Not Chinese. No, they'd never think of doing that. They're not going to wipe anybody's bum for anybody. But there you go. They are. So they'll, come and clean the toilet, make the bed, do a bit of vacuuming. Not to the standard that Kiwis, in actual fact, enjoy. I mean, after all, they've just been brushing out some hovel somewhere in Southeast Asia, and suddenly, no, they're not going to get the standard that some elderly folk in this country would like. Anyhow, point is, they are. That's the market. But if you cut off that particular immigration channel in New Zealand tomorrow, if you started to actually make an impact into, no, there are 400,000 New Zealanders sitting on their ass on welfare in this country, and you start to have to pay people, you watch, the market would determine what that is. Now, as a consequence of that, so I believe pay equity is a chimera. The market determines what a job is worth, and the moment that you start interfering in that concept of the market, you're on the step to socialism and onto communism. The whole idea that everybody should be paid the same, irrespective of their skills or merits, because, well, we've all got different skills and merits. So I'm not a pay equity fan, and I think it's very clearly a path on the way to state socialism in this country. When the state says, oh, this is what it's worth. No, the market determines what a job is worth. Good example. And I might add, my daughter kept on earning that sum of money after the trade was liberalised as well.